Hi, welcome to Stalwarts of Music with Aditya Veera, Season 3. I'd like to give a special shout out to our podcast partner, Perpetual Buzz Experiences. You can check them out on www.perpetualbuzz.com. 2023 has been such an incredible year with several noteworthy highlights. The podcast won the prestigious Hubhopper Podcast Award for the category of Best Interview Podcast of 2023. And ever since, it's followed with several milestones that includes live podcast formats at the NCPA International Jazz Festival with Alfredo Rodriguez, covering the Snarky Puppy India Tour 2023, and two incredible interviews that took place as part of the Snarky Puppy India Tour, along with Mark Letteri and Jason Thomas. And we also did a fun podcast for Steve Vai's India Tour of 2023. And I'd like to show you all a little sneak peek of what happened in 2023.
Hello, everybody. This is Paul Gilbert.
Hello, everybody. This is Purbain Chatterjee.
I'm Ludovico Einaudi.
Hi, this is Antonio Sanchez.
In India, this is Jordan Rudess from the.
And this is Adrian Vandenberg.
ギタリストリサ X です。
Hey, this is Rhonda Smith.
Hi, I'm Harold Faltermeyer.
This is Dave Weckley.
Hi, this is Bill Frisell.
Hey, this is Julian Jujimani. You're watching Stewards of Music with Aditya Veera.
You're listening to Stalwarts of Music with Aditya Veera.
You're listening to Stalwarts of Music with Aditya Veera.
And you're listening to Stalwart of Music with Aditya Veera.
And you're listening to Stalwarts of Music with Aditya Veera.
Hello, India. Hello, Bharat. I will be talking to Aditya Veera for his series Stalwarts of Music with Aditya Veera.
Good to know that.
Yeah, it's by far one of the most intelligent interviews I've
An interesting choice of questions. Very well presented.
I like where you're coming from and your questions, and you've done your research, and you're.
It was a pleasure to discuss all those great topics that you put on the table, and I was lucky to be with you in this hour. I spent a beautiful hour with you. Thank you.
Very nice interview. I am very happy that your questions were very, very nice, and even you are so young, you have the depth and you have the knowledge. So I congratulate you, Aditya.
He is connecting people from this side of the globe to the other side of the globe. He's doing an amazing job. I would kindly request that you all check out Aditya Veera on his Instagram and his YouTube channel. His Instagram, I think, is ADIX 70. So give it up for Aditya Veera, everyone. Go check it out.
Season 3 2024 is going great so far. And I'm trying to bring about some of the best artists in the world. And I'd like to give a very special shout out for the Mahindra Blues Festival, which is marking its 12th year, and it returns on the 10th and 11th of February 2024 at the Mehboob Studio in Mumbai. As a pivotal part of Asia's blues scene and India's blues movement, the festival has been a platform for both global and homegrown blues talent. Their consistent support for arts and culture has been evident through their 11-year commitment to providing an unparalleled blues experience for the people of our country. The festival has hosted legends like Buddy Guy, John Mayall, and the Taj Mahal. I'm also delighted to let you all know that Stalwarts of Music with Aditya Veera is partnering with Hyperlink Brand Solutions for a one of a kind music festival podcast featuring three of the incredible artists, three lovely women who are going to be performing at this year's Mahindra Blues, and they are Dana Fuchs, Vanessa Collier, and Samantha Fish. The episodes will be out on the 21st, 28th of January, and the 4th of February exclusively on my YouTube channel, Aditya Veera 1994. And please do not miss out on the tickets for the festival that's happening on the 10th and 11th of February. And the ticket details are mentioned in the description. The National Center of Performing Arts in Mumbai announces the fifth edition of the Mumbai dance season, starting from the 18th of January to the 4th of February 2024. And this 18-day cultural classical dance forms through performances, lecture demonstrations, workshops, and masterclasses. Events will take place all across Mumbai, Greater Mumbai, and Navi Mumbai. It's being co-curated by noteworthy artists such as Jayashree Nair and Lata Rajesh. The season will offer a diverse range of performances, including choreography based on Tamil literature and a Kathak tribute to Pandit Briju Maharaj. So be sure to attend this incredible dance season and get your tickets from the official NCPA website, and I will be sure to mention the details in my description. Stalwarts of Music with Aditya Veera is also doing Indian album premieres, as we've been doing for the past two seasons. And this year, we are delighted to do a special premiere for the blues rock resilient icon, Walter Trout. He's putting out his 31st album, Broken, and this is a very deeply personal record featuring guests like Beth Hart, who's again performing at the Mahindra Blues Festival. And then they have someone like Dee Schneider from Twisted Sister, who's also part of the album, and many more. If you happen to be a true fan, you can pre-order the album on Bandcamp or head out to his website and get some exclusive merchandise ranging from t-shirts to CDs and even signed vinyl copies. Details are in my description. Guitar legend Scott Henderson is putting out his album Carnival, and I'm happy to be promoting this release on my show as well. It is going to be followed by a pre-show concert edition podcast for his shows happening at Windmills, Bangalore on the 12th and 13th of April. This is being powered by Total Environment Foundation. Be sure to get your tickets from the official Windmills website. You'll find the details there shortly. And do not forget to listen to Carnival. And if you're a avid listener and a true fan, I'm sure you'd love to get an autographed CD of the same, which is available at Scott's online shop. You can head out to www.scotthenderson.net. Vanessa Collier is my guest for today, and she's a master musician and a multi-instrumentalist. She seamlessly weaves genres like funk, soul, rock, and blues into her powerful performances. With soulful vocals, Vanessa captivates audiences and has been honored with the Blues Music Award for Contemporary Blues Female Artist of the Year. And her skills have also earned her accolades, including 2 Blues Music Awards for Horn Player of the Year. She has multiple degrees from the prestigious Berklee College of Music, and she's active in a lot of programs, conducting clinics across the country and beyond. And she's been inspiring several young musicians. Her album Honey Up spent 9 weeks on the Billboard album charts top 15 list, and she continues to receive acclaim on Sirius XM's BB King Bluesville radio station. Respected musicians like Buddy Guy have praised Vanessa's talent, emphasizing her impressive saxophone skills and captivating stage presence. Having released some several noteworthy acclaimed albums, she's toured nationally and internationally, and she has earned a prominent place in the blues music scene. So, without any further ado, I'm delighted to welcome my guest for today, Vanessa Collier.
Well, hello, my name is Vanessa Collier. I'm super excited to be coming to Mahindra Blues Festival here very shortly. And I play saxophone and sing and a little guitar, and I'm a songwriter as well. And you are listening to Stalwarts of Music with Aditya Veera.
Hi, Vanessa. Namaste. Welcome to Stalwarts of Music with Aditya Veera, Season 3. And it's such a pleasure to have you on the show.
It's such a pleasure to be here. Namaste. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
It's the first time I reached out to the folks at Hyperlink and put in this whole idea of having a festival edition podcast. Usually, in most of the music festivals across the world, people come listen to the music and then it's forgotten. So I thought it'd be a good practice to sort of archive one of a kind conversation with some of the artists playing at the festival. So this is the first edition where we have a podcast for the festival. So
I love it. That's such a good idea.
yeah. So I'm gonna be even more excited to see you live for the first time. Is this gonna be your first time in India?
Yes, first time visiting, first time playing. I've been wanting to visit India actually for a while. During the pandemic, practicing yoga, and they do a trip every year. And I've never been able to do it because I'm always touring. But I'm super excited. I cannot wait. I hear this one is like amazing too. There's like legendary here for artists here. It's like super legendary to do this one.
It is certainly, because last year we had Ivan Singh, we had Mr. Taj Mahal. Then we had like an incredible lineup of artists from last year.
Totally.
This year it's going to be even more exciting because they've it's the first time ever they have some lovely women coming down together for a music festival in this country. So it's going to be very exciting for sure.
It's super cool. I don't know if the US has ever done something like this where it's like an all-female line.
Okay.
So it's like super cool.
Yeah.
Ahead of this time, perhaps,
Because these guys are innovators and they are they're bold enough to try and experiment with a lot of new things, and I'm sure they're doing a great job with all of this.
Totally. Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. How's the storm situation right now in your city? Is it better?
It's better. Yeah, there's some rain passing through this morning, but it's not.
Okay.
Yeah, we were huddled in my laundry room because we had a tornado warning. So
Oh no.
Yeah.
Very scary, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, they're scary anywhere. They rip through lots of places. I've just never lived. I've only lived here for about a year in South Carolina, and I haven't had so many. You know what I mean? Even when I'm not home, they're still ripping through. So did some damage to a city nearby, but not too far. Yeah.
But I'm glad you're doing safe and sound, and everything's in place. So I'm glad.
Yeah. Thank you.
But did it affect any music schedule of yours? Were you up to something important, and did it hamper that?
No. So I actually purposefully took some time off. Starting December, I think December 2nd was my last tour date of the year. I had basically started 22 in January, like January 6th, I think was our first date. And we pretty much toured nonstop. I mean, there were a couple 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there, but I was gone most of the year. And I am working on a new record to release in September, hopefully. And so it was just like, well, I need some time off the road to, not deal with logistics of all of booking all the hotels and the flights and all that kind of stuff, as well as just keeping the tour on track. And just some time at home to rest and be with my dogs and just, chill out a little bit. So I did one date in January 6th in DC.
Yeah.
I'm home until basically end of this month, which is great.
Exciting. Tell me about the new record. What is it going to be called? And when is it likely? I mean, you did mention September, but do you have like a timeline for it?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have some dates held in the studio at the end of March here. So my hope is to get all the basics done and then overdubs there early in April.
Okay.
And then get a good PR push behind it and release it sometime. So I don't have the title. I'm still writing songs for it. So
Got it.
till I kind of know if it's going to be a concept record, like I think it's going to be more soulful than stuff I've put out before. Just more like, I don't know, maybe Staplesy, like a little bit more that genre. Definitely with some funk still involved, but just a little looser, more open kind of tones and stuff like that. So. But I'm still working on it, so it's all just a melting pot at the moment. It's not the finished product. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Are you thinking of any special collaborations on this particular record?
That's a good question. I think I have a couple friends. I always get my horn section on it. This horn section that I love. So I end up recording the sax parts, but I have a friend, Doug Wolverton, who's been with Roomful of Blues and numerous other artists. He plays trumpet. He's amazing. And my friend Quinn Carson, who's out in LA, and he is a trombone player and just like, I don't know, he just kicks butt. He's out touring with everybody. So we'll do that for sure. I'll have Laura Chavez on it and Scott Sutherland and my drummer Byron. And then we'll see. I'll see if I some guests in. So.
Hopefully, we also get to have a Indian album premiere on this podcast. I'd love to do that for you. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I'll pass it along.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I appreciate it.
So today, I've planned a very interesting agenda. So shall we get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So Vanessa, how intense and important was the environment in which you grew up, supportive and nurturing your musical interests? Not everybody grows up in the kind of environment that you did. And a lot of people have to struggle against the environment to become an artist or a musician. What was it like for you?
Absolutely. I mean, I am very blessed. I know a lot of people, the age-old kind of stereotype, I guess, is that, you got to have a backup plan. Why do you want to be a musician? Musicians make no money. It's not a proper job. All these things. At least in America, that's definitely you go do something else. You become a lawyer, a doctor, or something that you have a fallback plan. You have healthcare. You have all these things, right? And my mom very early saw how much I loved it. And I was a basketball player too. So I was still like 50-50, like I might want to play, in college. I might try to make it to the WNBA. I had no idea, but at the time she was just nurturing and supportive of all things. So she rented me a saxophone in 4th grade and then paid for lessons. And drove me like an hour to these lessons every week or every 2 weeks. Just very, very supportive, very nurturing and encouraging, just like you said. And so when it came up to hey, I think I want to do this for a living. And I was fortunate also to study with a guy, Chris Vidala, who he was with Chuck Mangione for 25 plus years, but he was centered in the DC metro area and basically was first call for Aretha Franklin and Stevie Wonder and B.B. King and played with all these people who came through town and needed a horn player, needed a saxophone player, clarinetist, flautist, he was an all around woodwind guy. And so, you know, I got to study with him for 7 years, and he was the first one that showed me that you can have a career doing this. You know, I hadn't really thought about it being a career, but once I found out you could, it was like, oh, I have to do this, you know? So again, my mom was very, very supportive, and we started looking at colleges, and she just gave me all the resources I could possibly, you know, need. And I mean, I think where I grew up to is also unique. I didn't know that at the time, but I think going to college, like, I found out not everybody has like music during the day in high school. Like I had not only, you know, symphonic band, so classical kind of stuff, but we also had a jazz band. So I had 2 periods of music pretty much every day or every other day, as well as really great education as well. So that's really rare. We had a music technology lab. So like my junior and senior year. So I got really interested in the production side, kind of my senior year, and had no idea that was a thing. But that kind of led me to study music production and engineering in college. And, you know, I think I was really set up along the way to make this happen. And that's why I say I'm blessed. I'm very grateful, because I know not everybody has that situation. You know, I have a great instrument, you know, all these things, they're things that I worked for, but at the same time, you know, I was very blessed to live where I live, to have the parents, you know, to have my mom and be supported in order to, at every step of the way, just make it happen. You know, I'm not sure I would have been here without all of those things falling into place.
Yeah. As you rightly mentioned, the nurturing is very important. You were given the right push by your family in terms of pursuing this, and they were, you know, guiding you throughout. And not many of them are fortunate enough to have that support. So I think you got the best of you know, best of an environment to sort of help you with your endeavors. That being said, how did the environment receive you initially when you entered this industry? Was it a pleasant experience?
I mean, I think again, I was set up pretty well coming from college. You know, I not only like tested out a bunch of stuff, so I could fit a 5-year program in 4 years, and then take some classes outside of my interests. So I was able to take some business and some songwriting and all these things that you really do need to know the business. And so coming out, I felt pretty prepared as to what the state of the industry was, which basically everyone, when I went to Berkeley, it was kind of like, you know, you should really think twice about signing with a major, with a label, because the major labels are crashing, they're falling, they're failing. And you might just get put up on a shelf until they drop you, you know, kind of thing. But they own your music, they own everything. So it was sort of this move to be your own individual artist. You have to wear all the hats. So you have to know the production side, the engineering side, you have to know the promotion side, and be able to know what you're looking for from a PR perspective. As well as, you know, now your social media and your marketing and all of that. And then the business, you have to know where your royalties are coming from. You have to make sure you're collecting all your royalties in all your different places. So, you know, that is, it's a lot. That's 5 jobs in itself. You know what I mean? But again, I think I was set up to kind of, okay, if we're doing this DIY, which I've done with the exception of my second record, then here are your resources. Here's the current state of the industry. And here's what you do. So there's a little bit of that. And then you're kind of thrown into the fire, and you have to learn as you go. Things aren't the same in a textbook that they are in the world. So sorry, my dog here. But I think it can be a little challenging. It can be a little challenging just because you're expecting to be able to put music out there, market it, and have it reach people. And that's not the case. You know what I mean? It's not that simple. You have to be consistent with it. You have to go through all these hoops. You have to put a lot of money into marketing. So it's not as simple as let's put a video up on Facebook and everyone who follows me will see it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As well as you have to break into the little cliques that are in the industry, right? So like the blues world is very small. Everybody knows each other, and they take care of each other, which is a beautiful thing. But as a new artist, you really have to come in and I think you have to prove yourself and show up and do a good job and make sure your reputation is pristine, especially as a female artist. You don't have a lot of leeway. You got to do things right and do them on the up and up and do them better than most. You know what I mean? So I've had a really, really good experience in that, I've learned so much and I'm very grateful for the journey that I've been on. It's been very challenging, but I wouldn't change that. You learn so much by going through the little fires and and things. And I've just learned a lot and I'm very appreciative of that.
You did mention proving yourself. Well, you're still at the early stage in your career and you have a long way to go for sure. So that being said, every artist or every human being has like a golden period, right? It can be through several phases, or maybe through facets, right? In terms of what they enjoy doing. So what is a golden period for someone like you, and why is it a golden period?
I mean, that's a great question. I think for me, who I am as a person is I love to learn and change.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as painful as change can be, usually at the other end of it, you end up like, man, your world just opens up, if you're willing to take that chance and be uncomfortable for a little bit. So I think my golden periods are usually like with the birth of a new record, with the birth of something, sometimes on stage things, like I put out a live record almost 2 years ago now. And that to me was like, cool. This is the representation of 10 years or 7 years, 7 years in the industry and building to this point, so I recorded those songs, most of those songs in 2014. And then I recorded them in early 2022. And so it's just like, you could just kind of see you get to see the growth in how much time, both growth as a vocalist, as a saxophonist, as a band leader, but just as an artist, your artistic vision kind of changes. So I think it's with the music, but it's also like as you grow as a person. I had a really fantastic year last year. And, everything kind of followed in that way. I had a lot of self-realization, self-awareness, some beautiful things happened in my life that allowed, great things to come my way. And, I'm a little, I believe in that stuff, if you put good out there, I think it comes back to you. And if you're open to those things, you can receive it. So I feel like I'm in one now. We'll see what this next record brings, but that's kind of, it's usually when you feel like everything's grooving, everything's moving with you, and the planets are aligning, as they say.
Well, let's hope for the best.
Oh, thank you.
Hope you get everything your heart desires.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
I'd like to understand your relationship with Joe Walker.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Joe Louis Walker, I was going into my senior year at Berkeley, and my friend played drums for him. My first drummer played drums for him. And he said, hey, we're rolling through Philly, which is where I was living at the time. And he said, you should come out and see the show. Like, I can put you on the guest list, whatever. Also bring your horn, because Joe loves to bring people up on stage. And so I sat through the first set. Well, actually, I checked out his music. I was on Spotify, and I was just like, oh man, this is my jam. This is my stuff, coming from Berkeley, which is very like jazz based, especially when you have a saxophone. Everybody kind of wants to push you in that jazz realm. And I was fighting that, like I like jazz, but it didn't give me all that much joy. And so anyway, I'm listening to Joe's music, and I'm playing over top of it like, oh yeah, oh man, I love this. And so then of course I checked out the show, and I'm listening to the first set. First set ends, and my drummer friend introduces me to Joe, and Joe's like, "Oh, okay, you play saxophone." you got your horn? I'm like, yeah, it's right here. It's like tucked under the little table seating that I'm at. And he's like, all right, well, we're going to call you up. I'm like, okay. He goes on and meanders and talks to everybody, because that's something Joe's great at. And then as he's heading up for the second set, he looks at me and he goes, you coming? And I was like, sure, yep. I'm gonna grab the horn, and I go backstage, and he starts the first song, and then I'm still putting my horn together and whatever. And then he invites me out, and initially, it's just standard protocol that you only stay up for 2 songs. You bow out gracefully and you move on your way. You're not trying to get in the way of his show. He's the artist.
Yeah.
And so I go to do that after 2 songs, and he's like, wait, where are you going? Stay up here. And so I ended up staying up. He let me stay up the whole second set with him. Incredible. And it was just so much fun. I mean, you're playing blues, he's gospel, he's rock, he's soul. I mean, he's just got everything happening, And I think that's why I like him so much. He's not straight up the middle, any one thing. He can move in about 1,000 different directions on a dime, and do it all beautifully and masterfully, and he can also read an audience so well. So those are all things that I've really, really learned from him. And, basically at the end of that night, he was like, hey, do you want to hit the road? And at the time, that's all I wanted to do was figure out if the road life was good for me. And so I ended up going on the road with him for about 1.5 years, and just doing a bunch of East Coast states, like in between schoolwork and RAing and all of that. And then, going out on the weekends and coming back exhausted and, just making it all work. 'Cause he's what made me realize that this is what I really am made for this. I really love it. If you're going out for like $75 or whatever, and you're spending 50 on gas, it's like, you love it when it's, when it's tight like that. So anyway, I've been very, very grateful, and he gave me so many opportunities. Again, it's one of those things, I think in the moment, I'm not sure that I recognize, but I don't think I realize that he's unlike any other artist in this way. And that's that, a lot of artists, when you're guesting with them, when you're a side man, they'll throw a solo your way, and you kind of you get one time around, maybe twice around, and then you're done. You have to make it work within that time frame. Joe is like, I want to hear what you have to say. So if it takes 5 choruses to say what you want to say, you get 5 choruses, and that's so rare. And was such a beautiful thing for me, because, I was learning how to put a solo together that was impactful, that, maybe 2 choruses wasn't enough, or, trying to learn how to build it from nothing to go to here and all that. And, he's just so open to letting an artist develop under him. And I'm so grateful that, he has enough self-confidence and self-awareness and just like all the things to just kind of go, yeah, you do your thing. Yeah, I love it. You know what I mean? So he's like, I don't know. He always jokes that I'm like his daughter. And I feel that way too. I mean, he's just been such an inspiration and a a parental figure. I think it definitely in the blues world. He's taught me a lot about the business and the history of the music and just everything. Yeah.
I feel a lot of band leaders have been quite instrumental that way. I was having a very similar conversation with Mr. Walter Trout last night. And he was sharing a similar experience with Mr. John Mayall. When he was playing with Mr. John Mayall, he was also very instrumental in sort of giving him these opportunities to experiment and be himself on stage. So I could relate a lot to what you said in terms of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. I didn't know that about Walter though, but that makes sense. That's usually what it takes.
Yeah. And you also did briefly mention Philly. You were in Philadelphia at some point, I presume. So did you get a chance to check out the Daryl's House Club by any chance? Have you checked it out?
Oh, Daryl's in New York?
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, I've played there a few times now. I played there during the pandemic, like a duo show with no audience, which was super but fun.
Right. Because
but
speaking
yeah,
of Philly
I love
sounds, that just came to my mind. Yeah.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
of course,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard to beat Hall and Oates. I mean, history.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing about Philly. You know, it's so rich in so many different cultures, and like you see it. It's such a foodie city because you have all these different cultures that bring it.
Yeah.
You know, you have the Philly cheesesteak, which is purely a Philly thing. You know,
Yeah.
but you also have all sorts of cultures bringing their food. There's a lot in. I'm trying to remember the cuisine, but like Lebanese food, there's some great Lebanese food.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just lots of things. Vietnamese. I mean, you can find pretty much anything you're looking for. And the music is the same. It's the same potluck. You know, Philly has a very distinct, soulful sound. You know, it's Teddy Pendergrass, it's Hall and Oates. You know, Jill Scott. That's like Questlove. They all came from Philly. Coltrane spent a ton of time in Philly. So it just has this rich musical history that still is like coursing through the veins of that city, and you can feel it. So and Daryl Hall and Hall and Oates, of course, you know.
Yeah. I think even I was talking to Richie Kodzin sometime last year, and I think he is also from there. Yeah.
Yeah.
He did
I
spend.
believe it.
Yeah, he did spend a lot of time. Doing a lot of renditions, Hall and Oates renditions. If you see some of the older videos.
You got to pay homage, right?
Yeah. And I really wish that you get invited for a Daryl's house concert. Featuring the in-house band. That'll be fun.
That would be fun.
That'll be a whole lot of fun. Yeah.
Fingers crossed. You're putting it out in the world. Maybe it'll happen.
Yeah. Let's hope for the best. Yeah.
Let's hope.
How does something like spirituality inform your life as a musician?
Yeah, great question. I think it has everything to do with it, really, because I think the moment that you're on stage, there's sort of like you're very connected. I feel very connected with the audience and very locked into like the audience's energy. However, at the same time, it's like if you told me what I played or what I said or what it almost is like it's released from me. I wasn't totally present for it. And I think that's just the magic of the moment. You know, you get lost in it. And I think there is like a spiritual realm to this music. I know everybody talks about with Coltrane. You can feel it when you listen to those records. It's like there's something else. There's something very palpable here that hits everybody. And so, I think that's what I am trying to create every night. Sort of like, what is that palpable experience? What can we do? How can we shape this night? But I think it just informs my daily life too. Again, like I'm very much, I believe doing good things gives you good things. Putting out positivity gives you positivity. And so it's like definitely something I am quietly but purposefully attempting to do is to lift and be a positive force in the world. Because there's just so much going on that I think a little bit of rooting down and grounding, I think it's totally necessary. They're very intertwined to me. They're the same. Music and spirituality are kind of they're the same. Yeah.
What are some of the spiritual techniques that you personally embody at this point?
I mean, I think I grew up Catholic.
Okay.
But I think there was a lot in the Catholic realm that didn't totally align with my ideals.
Right.
And then I lost a friend in 2008, and I was 17. He was almost 17, and at that age, I mean, you can imagine losing like a friend that I had grown up with, a friend that I had grown up playing saxophone with, sitting next to in band every year for that many, fourth to eighth grade, to fourth to 12th grade or whatever. It hits you, and as a kid, you don't know how to deal with that loss, and I think it was a strange experience to go through burying a friend and learning the Jewish customs, because he was Jewish, and learning those customs and understanding there's a different side to spirituality and religion, however you want to mention it, where it kind of opened me up to, I think, a little bit more of everything. So I believe, I believe there's a being, you know what I mean? And then I think from spirituality, I loved my yoga practice when I was, during the pandemic. It was like, kept me grounded, kept me, just feeling great. I know that time brought a lot of pain to a lot of people, but it really cleared out a lot for me. So learning about the chakra system and, Ayurvedic medicine and all these things, I think spirituality plays a role in all of these things. And just paying attention to I think the biggest thing for me is like understanding how much trauma, how much the body holds on to, and then trying to, both in music, but also without music being the crutch, release some of that negative stuff and figuring out how to do that. Without, putting that on people around you, because a lot of people will diffuse that by getting angry or going off on people around you, but that's not healthy either. You have to figure out a healthy way to deal with it. So I think that's really what I hold on to, is trying to be a positive force and deal with my own negative emotions by diffusing them in a healthy way and not hurting anyone around me. I think that's the root of my spirituality right now. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you've gone through a lot, bearing that loss and figuring out figuring out things that'll help you with your personal contentment in terms of your spiritual ideals and all of that. And you also did mention yoga. I don't know if you're aware, I am currently in the mecca of where yoga is being practiced. So I live in this city at the moment, called Coimbatore, which is in the south of India, which is in Tamil Nadu, which is in a state called Tamil Nadu. And I don't know if you've heard of Mr. Sadhguru. Have you heard of Sadhguru?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Sadhguru has his yoga foundation in my city. It's called the Isha Yoga Foundation.
Nice.
So this is where it all started for him.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
If you find any time, either before your music festival or post the festival, you should totally come down. You should come down and check out the yoga center here. And they have a lot of these programs on inner engineering and all of that. And speaking of Ayurveda, which is in the next state, which is in the neighboring state called Kerala.
Okay.
So Kerala is the place where Ayurveda started. Probably the first ever set of pioneers originated from Kerala. So if you find any time in your schedule, you should definitely check out these two places. These are worthwhile. Yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah, you should, because you especially Kerala, you'll love that place. It's called God's own country.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope I get a chance to. That would be beautiful.
You should. From Mumbai, maybe it'll be like a 1.5 hour flight down, and then then you can travel. You can probably do a road trip or something like that. It'll be fun.
Nice. Okay. Excellent. Are you going to be my tour guide?
Sure. I'd love to. I'd love to show you around. Yeah, more than happy
Beautiful.
to. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
So coming to some of your musical idols, I did gather some information on the internet. So could you describe Freddie King's impact on you?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I think when I heard Freddie King for the first time, I was kind of like perusing YouTube and just looking up old like live blues stuff. And I ran across the live Freddie King from like the 70s where he's playing in the giant stadium in Texas.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this guy is my kindred spirit. Like, oh, I wish he was still alive. Like, he's so powerful and impactful, and yet he's contained. It's like this really cool dichotomy. And I love the way he plays. He kind of just like gets after it, both vocally and guitar wise, to where it moves you. You know, you're just like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like it just totally gets to you. And I think that's kind of been my approach to saxophone, especially in the blues world. It's like, you know, you get after it. So I'm making tones that a lot of people are gonna not go for, right? They're kind of gonna do the saxophone thing and play jazz and play whatever over top of the blues chords, and I'm kind of like, no, I just want to hit it hard, you know. So I think he's just, his energy, his stage presence, and I love his music. It's just everything grooves. His drummer's like back there just bashing away, you know, especially on the live stuff. The band's killing. Just everybody's on, and everybody's tuned into him, and like he's calling breaks for the band, and just they're all on one playing field. They're all in one plane, you know, and they're lifting everybody. That whole huge audience in the stadium, they're all getting lifted to a higher place, it seems. So you know, that inspires my own shows. Again, like that's what I'm trying to do. Positivity, and just make everybody feel better than when they came in. That's pretty much my goal.
I'm sure not just Freddie King, but there have been other people who've been very instrumental in shaping your musical pursuits. So could you tell me about these people who've helped with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. I think the first person that I found that I really loved was Cannonball Adderley, who is totally, you know, jazz world kind of thing. But I didn't find the stuff with Miles first. I didn't find the stuff from the 50s, you know, 60s. I kind of found his last record called Phoenix. That was the first record that I got. I think my mom bought it for me.
Okay.
And it's him starting to go with like the 70s kind of funky kind of sounds. So there's like clav and, you know, all sorts of just more futuristic kind of sounds on it. Most critics don't actually like that record, but me as a kid, I was like, this is so cool. And then I found other stuff with him, but he's you know, he's very bluesy. He's very like centered in the blues, but he's playing it over jazz changes, just like, I mean, just like Charlie Parker, but he just does it in a way that really speaks to me. So he's been big, always been big. And then, you know, I later found like Maceo Parker in college and James Brown. So, you know, that whole idea of like making it feel really good on one chord and the parts staying stagnant while the vocal floats over the top. It's as long as the groove is funky enough, you can sell, you know what I mean? You don't have to move. You just kind of like chill, and then you take it to the bridge and you go to the four chord. Like, woo, you know, and how great that can feel. And then, and Maceo, I got to see him once live, and, you know, just how he structures his show and kind of the funky, how he places notes is something that I get after, you know, like he's got some very strange placements. Or unusual, right? They're not strange. They're really, really cool. It's almost like James Brown's vocal. It's put not where you expect it to be. Yeah, exactly. It's like a Shaka Khan record, or you know, you just those vocals are not where you expect them to be, right?
Correct.
Very rhythmic. Bonnie Raitt was a huge influence on me. You know, I tell this story on stage all the time. Like, everybody knows that Nick of Time record, the 10th record that made her, you know, blow up and be this huge sensation. But, and I love that record. I Can't Make You Love Me is beautiful. But like, if you dig through her early stuff, I got her first 3 records, as well as this other like unknown record, like pretty much right when I graduated college. And I was like, this is a different Bonnie Raitt. It's the same, but it's funk, it's Delta blues, it's like, you know, soulful hill country stuff. I mean, she just kind of runs the gamut, as well as New Orleans, right? It's all in there. And she really pays tribute to a lot of Sippy Wallace in those first 3. So because of her, because of Bonnie Raitt, I found Sippy Wallace, you know, Ruth Brown, of course, Aretha and Etta James, all those powerhouse women. I think there's no end. I think in recent years, I think the Wood Brothers have been a huge influence on me.
Okay.
Because I studied them, they were paying homage to Sister Rosetta Tharpe.
Wow.
So it's just like, if you trace the lineage back of the people that you love, you end up finding some really, really cool stuff. So I've been really into that. Lately, I've been really into Hermanos Gutierrez. So more instrumental, all instrumental, but kind of Ecuadorian.
I haven't checked him out.
Folk song stuff. Yeah, it's really, really cool. So a lot of Mavis, yeah, all that stuff. Staple singers. It goes on and on. They all inform.
Yeah. And being a Berkeley grad, I don't know if you have participated in any workshops or clinics at the Global Jazz Institute, but have you interacted with Joe Lovano by any chance?
I never worked with him. I've seen him play. I went to the Village Vanguard in New York and saw him with the Monday night band. My teacher was playing too, George Garzon. So I've definitely seen him. I know he was on campus a lot. But yeah, I think he's an incredible player and as I hear it, an incredible teacher. So yeah, I got the chance to study with a lot of great people. And I hope maybe someday.
Yeah, we had him on last season of the podcast.
Oh, amazing!
And he was kind enough to send me some amazing physical copies of some Blue Note records that he worked on with Mr. Schofield, and it was just I've been listening to a lot of it lately. And he also sent me a Live at the Vanguard record that he had.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That is so kind. I'm glad he said that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So being a person who is had adequate or enough experience to be on the road and perform, and do you also mentor younger musicians at this point?
Yeah, it's one of the things that it's kind of a bummer when you're on the road that much. I used to have a steady saxophone studio of 30 students that I would teach over 3 days. So I would teach 5 hours straight, kind of 5 or 6 hours straight with very little break, and just teach 10 students a day for 3 days. And I love that, because the one-on-one time, I think with a student is really how you get to know them. You get to work through some of their bad days, and they also brighten your day. If you're having something and they bring something to the table that it just makes your day better. You know what I mean? And that is one of the things that being on the road, I don't get to sit down and do that one-on-one in person. I do have a few students online, and that's been great. Basically through the pandemic, everything shifted, and it's been online for me. But I do love to do that when I get the chance. And then, I do go on the road, and I get to schedule these things. I'm actually doing one in Aspen in March in Colorado, where you do these kind of Blues in the Schools programs. So you get, it kind of varies. It's really up to the school how they want to do it. You can do it kind of like in an auditorium where you're talking or just playing for the kids. Or it can be smaller groups. So there's a group of students I work with up in Syracuse that I've worked with them twice now. And I work with their jazz band. And get to direct them through that stuff, or career planning if anyone really wants to do music or as a hobby or whatever, kind of give them a different look at how to do that. And I'm always I have some younger players that come to my shows, and they always come up and say, hey, and I play saxophone, and I always here's my card, here's my email, here's my number, call me if you need anything. I'm here as a resource. I grew up with so much that I would love nothing more than to pass that on to the next generation and generations to come.
Right.
Because, you know, I just want to pass on what I've learned and hopefully make it easier for the next person coming through to not have to figure out everything on their own. You know, it helps to have a friend.
Talking about Berkeley again, how did your experience at Berkeley, particularly with Scarlet Keys and Pat Patterson, shape your approach towards songwriting? Or even, I also noticed you do a little bit of object writing almost every day.
Yeah. That's kind of been my 2024, again, silently, but with purpose. I've been trying to do those object writes every day since the first of the year. And basically I hadn't written a song prior to getting into Scarlet Keys' class. She was the first one that I took, was like songwriting. Actually, I think Susan Catania was the first one that I took, and then I took Scarlet Keys. But anyway, Scarlet Keys was the first song that I wrote in like songwriting 101, I think. And I had no experience. Basically, throughout middle school and high school, I would always, I'm a very like emotive person. And I would always have feelings that I wouldn't have the words quite for. But for some reason, when I sat down, I could write sort of like poetry form and write it out. And it felt like it was this great relief for me. Because also, you know, I'm an introvert. So like having the words in the moment to address something is like, it's a skill. It's a skill I did not
gotta be very vocal about it.
Yes, exactly. So, so taking those classes, I mean, Scarlet Keys was like pivotal for me because I didn't believe I was a songwriter at all. And so we started out and she's like, I'm going to teach you object writing. Let's try this. We're going to take 10 minutes. Here's the objects, you know, based on your 5 senses, your organic and your kinesthetic senses, go. And like blank page, you know, what do you come up with? And I wrote a few, and she happened to call on me in class because she'd always like pick 3 people to read. And I read mine and she was just like, wow, you're a writer. And I was like, I am. Amazing, you know? And so, you know, just she built my confidence for sure. It was like, oh, I didn't believe I was this thing. And she was like, no, you totally are. So that was just confidence building. That's what I started. I mean, everybody has to get the songs that aren't so great out of the way before they get to the great ones, you know? So I'm sure I wrote a lot of crappy songs at the beginning, and I don't know, I've never looked back, but she was just pivotal in like, hey, that's part of the process. You know, really songwriting is about editing. It's not about this great idea just came to me and oof, I never had to touch it again. You know, it is a process. So, you know, it's a craft. You sit down and you work on it every day. And here are some ways to do that. Object writing is one of them. You know, she does these things on newspapers where you can take a newspaper headline and you kind of write based off that. And you write a song based on that, or you take the chord structure of a song that you love and you change the lyrics. And then once you're done doing that, then you change the chord structure to kind of fit the melody that you've come up with. So there's lots of ways to kind of craft things together. It's almost like woodworking. You know, you have the different pieces, you have to fit it all together, glue it all together, and then you have this beautiful finished piece of art, you know? So she was pivotal in all of that. And then I went to Pat's class and I got a whole other level of knowledge because he basically doesn't, at least what I noticed of taking two semesters with him, is he doesn't pick apart what you say. He takes what you say and he spins it. So like, I don't know, if you have a verse 1, verse 2, and he thinks, oh, what if we swap these? And what happens now? How does the song feel now? Maybe this one has better imagery. Verse 2 has better imagery. So that way it's like making everything else be seen through this other light, right? And that's actually, he has this metaphor where he talks about your first line of your verses being like, of your first verse, really, being a bag of dye that drips down through the rest of your verses. So if you make that opening line strong, it's like, oh man, it colors the rest, right? And it's such a beautiful thing to think about. And so that's how I try and approach songwriting. Is just like, well, how can I make this like felt, how can I put this person, if you're closing your eyes and you're listening to lyrics, how can I put you in the space instead of, my heart broke and all this, kind of thing. Well, how, just try and explain it in this really colorful, powerful way that you understand my heart is broken without having to tell you that my heart is broken. Right. So yeah, they're both amazing teachers. And I love their process because it doesn't demean you as an artist. It kind of like just makes you want to work and craft and get better. So yeah, much gratitude to them.
But while you're navigating through this entire process of object writing, for instance, how do you know when a particular piece of writing is complete? And do you revisit or revise your past object writes over time? Do you do something like
that? So object writes, I leave as is. It's like that's kind of the point, is you just kind of keep doing them, and so you're able to like plunge deeper into that sense-bound world much quicker. So I won't edit those, but as far as songwriting goes, I often write on a deadline. Like, again, I have December and January off, and I'm back on the road at the end of January with the hopes of recording at the end of March. Right. So I set myself up. This is how I feel that I write best, is I set myself up with a deadline, and then I kind of write up until that deadline. And in that time frame, I think with the last studio record I did, it was called Heart on the Line. I went into the studio with very rough ideas of what the lyrical content was going to be. I kind of roughly knew what the song was, but the verses were not settled for me yet. So I didn't get any of the vocals for the originals at the session, but I took it home, and again, the pandemic hit, so I had a little extra time, and I really sat and I honed what I wanted the lyrics to be. And I think it's Leonard Cohen that's like, you can go back and constantly shape and reshape and like redo this verse. And I think that's why he's Hallelujah, that just has so many verses and it's changed over time, because a lot of writers will do that. They will continue to edit. I tend not to be that. I kind of want to get it to a point where I'm like, cool, I'm happy with that. And then I leave it alone, and that becomes how we perform it. But there are things like Whiskey and Women. I think I've actually flipped the verses. It happened by accident one night, and I was like, oh, that's actually stronger. So it's kind of like a Pat Pattison thing, it just kind of happened, and now I'm singing it that way because it makes more sense. So I think rarely those things will happen, but for the most part, I feel like it's like an inner feeling. It's like an inner feeling of like, cool, I think I've done all I can on this. Let's take it to the studio and see how this song shapes up, see if I want to change anything stylistically, and then it just kind of, then you take it on the road, and it gets new life breathed into it every night. So minorly shifting and changing and growing to be this beautiful, hopefully beautiful song at the end of the time.
Yeah. And as you go through this entire process, I'm sure there might be some challenges. So I'd like to touch briefly upon songwriting. So what do you consider your biggest challenges as a songwriter these days?
I think my biggest challenge is just finding the time and the headspace to sit down and do it. I think, again, like coming through this last year of just having such a great space, writing has often been like, it's something I turn to when I'm struggling through something, and I just start writing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that the song has to be about struggle. It's just like what I turn to. Yeah. And I think this past year has been so great for me that I haven't had that much like, okay, I really got to write these feelings out right now, But I think there's maturity to it as well. Like, that's what I feel like sitting down to write this new one. It's like, I've been through, 5 records at this point. So I know that it comes. You just have to let it. You have to not freak out, essentially. Be like, this is never going to happen. You know what I mean? It's just, the process is forgiving. And I think that the challenge is just kind of like letting it happen. letting it happen and again, finding the headspace and the time to relax, settle into it, do some object rights, and really fall into making great songs,
You did mention about Heart on the Line, so I'd like to play a sneak peek of Super Bad for the people of India.
Cool. Awesome.
I got soul and I'm super bad. I got soul and I'm super bad. I said, watch me. I got it. I said, watch me. Yeah. I got it. I got something that makes me wanna shout. And I got something that tells me what it's all about. I got soul and I'm super bad. I got soul and I'm super bad. Now I gotta move.
You also did mention that you have a dual degree. So you did pursue music production and engineering as your second degree, from what I gathered. So how did your journey into the world of engineering, mixing, and production begin and evolve?
Yeah, I mean, it began in my high school music technology lab. You know, I had a great teacher that I signed up for it because it was a music class, and I was like, yeah, sure, this sounds really cool. Like using GarageBand and Logic, and you know, playing parts into it, creating loops, you know, creating songs from loops, that kind of thing. That sounds like fun. I've never done that. Don't know how to do that. Don't have a Mac, you know. So it started there, and I kind of thought that would be all it is. And then he starts digging into the concepts, you know. So we kept a journal. I think I still have it, where he would bring in a record every week or every class, and we'd sit and listen to it. And he's like, "Well, let's listen to it once. Like, what do you notice? What do you notice is happening in your body? Are you tapping your foot? Are you moving in some sort of way? Is it a 2 feel? Are you feeling it in a 4 feel? You know, like what's happening?" Then list the instruments that you hear and what kind of style do you think it is? What do you think, like, what emotions are happening in the music? So you're really like dissecting production, but from like a visceral level, I guess.
Yeah.
And so that was just a great opener to figuring out, well, how to listen to stuff. You know, nobody really had taught me or told me what to listen for in music. So it was giving me a way outside of my normal way of checking in with all these. And then we dove into topics like backmastering, so playing a record backwards, as well as just technical terms. So, you know, filters, high pass filters, low pass filters, and what they are. And I found that I really love the engineering side. Like, I had no idea, but I love to take things apart, put them back together, figure out how they work. That my brain is like, yeah, teach me all the things. I don't want to just like, okay, great, it works, plug it in, let's go. I want to know why it works, you know? And that's what I loved, was like, we were learning what that sounds like, what EQ does, right? Like equalization on a record, mastering, what each of these processes are. And I kind of walked away being like, man, that's really cool. And then I got to Berkeley, and I think within my first week there, I looked into the music production and engineering program, and I was like, I want to try and get into this program. And I think at the time their acceptance rate, so like Berkeley's acceptance rate, I think was like 40-something% for students.
Okay.
And then the music production and engineering was like 30% of the students that applied got to get into the program.
Got it.
And I was very, again, fortune fell on me, where I had this professor, his name is Stephen Weber, and he loved, like, I interviewed with him, and he just kind of loved who I was and what I wanted to get out of the program. A lot of people going into that program want to become engineers and mixers and mastering engineers, and they want to go do that side. And I was kind of coming from the, well, I want to be an artist, but I also want to produce and mix. And you know, I want them to kind of congeal. I want them to be part of my life, you know, we weave together. And so fortunately it was with him, because I don't know if I had interviewed with anyone else in the department, if they would have really taken me seriously,
Yeah.
And I think for good reason. Like, I stepped into this program not knowing anything about signal flow. So, how the sound gets from the mic to then your recording console and the preamps there, through all the processing out to your whatever your output is, your speakers, right?
Yeah.
Didn't understand that at all, right? And I'm in these classes, which are about 10 or 12 people, and pretty much all of them have had live sound experience, recording experience, and they're like, whew, they're zipping. They understand the concepts. They're coming in with these great mixes. They're coming in with just so much knowledge.
Yeah.
And, I mean, again, it was great because I get to kind of sit back and, I did well in my classes, but I was certainly not the most talented in these mixing and mastering ways in my classes by far, So I got to sit back and kind of watch what that world looks like, and how to listen to music, how to listen for production, like listening to, hey, that sounds like a bottom snare, a mic on the bottom of the snare rather than the top of the snare drum. Or that sounds like, I don't know, a phaser on the guitar, or, really high end on this, boosted in the treble, all these things, all these technical things that I kind of got to, okay, cool. This is great. This is a totally new look. I'm a newbie. I'm not doing great at understanding these concepts.
Yeah.
But again, like, I just hadn't had the practical application. So learning all of that.
Right.
Now moving today, it's like when I run sound and I encounter an issue, I can troubleshoot it like that because now I understand signal flow.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh man, okay, cool. I can help the sound guy troubleshoot because I'm like, man, I'm getting it in my ears and I know my routing. So it's on your end, man. You know what I mean? Like it's really, really helpful. And it was a really wonderful program to go through. I thought there's Susan Rogers, who worked with Prince. I took one of her classes, and she's got a great book out. If you're
what is it called?
It's called "This Is What Music Sounds Like," and it's a psychologist, because she's another like kind of dual major person. So she worked on these Prince records and has this great engineering side, but she also studied psychology. I think she has a PhD in psychology.
Wow.
Something like that, like neurochemistry or psychology. She's weaving both of them in this book. So it's talking about why your brain likes what it likes. Is it drawn to the rhythm? Is it drawn to the melody? Is it drawn to the harmony? And why that is, and why different people think good music, this is great music and this is trash. So it's a really fantastic book. But that program is really wonderful, and it's something I continue to learn. Like, I was actually just starting to do some demo work for the new record and realizing like, oh, cool. My Pro Tools is like, it's a few years out of date, now my computer, because my computer doesn't have the M1 or M2 processors on the Macs. And I'm like, it doesn't want to run these programs now, because the CPU power is not happening. So anyway, it's all a great learning experience, but I'm given, I was given a great foundation with which to springboard from, or from which to spring, I guess. Just in my next journey, in the next part of this journey, it's like, cool. I have some tech skills. I can chat about this stuff.
Yeah. Based on whatever you said, there's a lot you said. I have a lot of questions that just popped up. Firstly, maybe let's start in the right sequence. You did mention about playing records backwards, and I have no idea why they do that. I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube where someone plays a Beatles record and then comes up with a conspiracy theory behind it. It's so funny. But what is the actual purpose behind doing something like that? Why would they do that?
That's a good question. I know it happens. So from a production perspective, you hear it a lot, especially in pop music, where they will take like a cymbal roll, and when you play it backwards, it kind of like makes this kind of sound where rather than feeling like it's swelling and getting bigger, it kind of feels like it's getting smaller. So what they'll do is they'll put that right before like a break, and it feels like it's almost sucking all the air out of the room. And so it's a great like production technique to create contrast from, perhaps a really stacked verse or something going into the chorus. It creates a break for your ears. As far as like playing records backwards, I honestly just think it was like someone deciding to spin, like probably with vinyl. I haven't looked into this. It would be good to look this up, but I would imagine with vinyl or maybe rewinding like tapes, and you start to hear stuff, and you're like, wait, what did he say? When it's played back, what is that? I think it's just like, this is something people just stumbled upon and were like, this is kind of cool. Also, conspiracy theory.
Correct. Yeah, because I've been seeing a lot of those videos, not now, but like when I was probably in high school or something like that. And they would come up with some very weird conspiracy theories and stuff that the Beatles spoke about. And then I also saw another video on Eagles,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
It's definitely weird. This is like, you can hear what you want to hear, whether it was intentional put there, I don't know, but
yeah. And also you did mention that you have this background as in sound engineering and all of that. So I'm sure you totally feel like a boss lady, being at a recording session and then talking actual jargons that the others wouldn't know, like professional musicians who haven't been exposed to. Yeah, I think that adds a lot of value, right, in terms of where you're coming from. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think it's important to know the things that you're looking for. And essentially, there's this sort of stigma that is, especially being a woman musician, that you're just like, just something's like not right, Like, I don't know. The voice is just like a little boxy. Well, when you can say like, hey, can you try boosting 4K just a little bit? Can you roll off the lows or whatever? Then automatically people are kind of like, okay, I guess. Is that better for you? You know what I mean? It puts you on a different level. I mean, sometimes people don't like it, for sure. Like, I think engineers that prefer, like, leave the sound engineering to them. But I think for the most part, most of the people that I work with, they appreciate that I'm able to, hey, this isn't right. Can we try this? And just be a little bit more productive in how I'm approaching, like, hey, I want something to change, and here's concrete things to try. You know what I mean? So it absolutely has come in handy. I think for the most part, like, I tend to hire people that are way better at things than me. So like my engineer that's engineered the last couple records is actually my professor from Berkeley.
Oh, wow.
And I love the sounds that he gets. And so I don't like, most of the time I'm kind of like, yeah, that sounds great. I don't have to fiddle with anything, but I do, with the saxophone sound, I will fiddle with that with him for a little bit. But again, learning and going and being given the tools, learning as you go, and been given really good tools from the get-go has helped me kind of learn on the go, and just, it helps my career every little bit.
And having had this background, are you also happy with how the live sound is in most of your performances? Do you have a live sound engineer who travels with you for all these shows? And what is it like in terms of that?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. I think that's actually been on my goal list to get someone who would run front of house for us. Because I recently had a chance to work with Jen, who runs front of house and tour manages for Ruthie Foster.
Oh, wow.
And I sat and I listened to her mixes, like her live mixes, and Ruthie's band, like full band, right? And it was just like, it's just perfect. Like the mix, the balance is perfect. Ruthie's voice is like supreme, as it should be. I mean, her voice is incredible.
Yeah.
And it's put right in front of the mix. You never miss a word, right? And that's the beautiful thing about somebody who knows your music, knows where it's going, knows what your tendencies are as an artist, whether they should pull back on the fader or give you a little push. these little things that are really big things in how the audience receives your music. And so I know that when Jen mixed us, I know the audience was like, whoa, your voice is like so great, and it's all about how it's perceived, how it's presented.
Correct.
I haven't, honestly, just because of, I'm still building. This is just like, it's like being a musician is like building a small business.
Correct.
And so,
you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah. What'd you say?
I said you're an entrepreneur.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you take a couple years where you're in the red and you're taking losses, and then you're hopefully turning that around and you're coming out in the black. And I again, last year I think it was the first year where I was like, okay, I feel like I don't have to like fight for every dollar that I'm getting here. And so with the hopes of if we continue to grow and maybe get that next level up, or where it might become, possible for me to travel with an extra person in the van, pay an extra person, pay for an extra hotel room, and cover those expenses. That is like first and foremost, I think, on my list coming up for sure.
I feel it's very essential for any musician to sort of be content with the live sound experience, because at least in my country, a lot of them aren't quite happy in terms of people who can't afford a live sound engineer, and there's like an in-house person at the venue that they're not happy with. But that's something that they battle with.
Yep. Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So let's talk about the much awaited Mahindra Blues Festival. So take us through the process of preparing for the Mahindra Blues Festival. Do you have something special planned for the Indian audiences, and what's the set list going to be like?
I tend to go I think we will hit the songs that like the band is generally just great at. But I think I tend to leave the set list kind of open. I mean, I know we usually hit with, I think we'll do I Can't Stand the Rain and Whiskey and Women, because those are songs that everybody usually loves.
Yeah.
And for us being our first time, I think we're gonna, play a lot of the well-known stuff, and stuff that we're just, is just really high quality, high caliber playing. But you never know. We've been working a few different songs that aren't like generally the standard ones that I'll call in a 90-minute set or something. They're usually like, we have 2 sets of music, and I'll put it in the second set. But I've kind of been calling some from the second set up. So we'll see. I mean, I haven't quite decided on the set list yet. I kind of want to leave it open, but I mean, I think I almost don't know what to prepare for in some ways, because I've just never been, and I think I'm so looking forward to seeing what the culture is like. That's the beautiful thing about. That's what I love about being able to travel the world, is that I don't like to be the American coming in and like, can you just speak English to me? I'm like, no, teach me your language, teach me the customs. I want to know what's appreciated and loved here. And yes, we're going to do our thing our way, but I want to learn too. So I think part of me is very much looking forward to whatever I can glean from my time there, from the people that we work with, and hopefully I'll see you there.
Yeah. I'd be happy to host you. Yeah, and show you around Mumbai as well. Yeah.
Thank you. So I think my preparation is mostly excitement at this point, and okay, what do I pack in the bag, and just making sure I bring my A game. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
Likewise, I can't wait for the festival that is coming up in a few weeks as we count. Yeah, the countdown started already. Yeah.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Yeah. And how big is your contingent going to be, and who are going to be playing with you?
Yeah, so there'll be 4 of us total, including myself.
Okay.
So I have Byron Cage, who's he's my drummer, my normal drummer.
Okay.
And then I have Scott Sutherland. Oh, and Byron's played with everybody. He's played with Tommy Castro, Joe Louis Walker.
Oh, wow.
Just everybody. Samantha Fish sometimes. Same with Scott. Scott played with Samantha Fish. He played with Albert Cummings for most recently. He just played with everybody over the years. He's an incredible bass player. Byron's an incredible drummer. And then I have Laura Chavez, who, of course, has been playing with everybody too. With the late great Candy Kane, as well as a host of people now. Nikki Hill, I think she's come to the festival. Yeah. And Laura is just a stellar guitar player. She won Guitar Player of the Year at the Blues Music Awards last year. Just an amazing player, amazing person. And and then it'll be me on sax and vocals and guitar. So it'll be. I'm so excited.
Yeah, so am I. It's gonna be. I don't know. Like I've been waiting for this time of the year. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's so cool.
Insane. So I'd like to come to the last part of our agenda, which is fun rapid fire I've prepared for you.
Okay, beautiful.
All right. So let's go.
Let's do it.
The first question for you: what is that one song that always makes you cry?
Ooh, Colder Weather by Zach Brown Band.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Great choice. On the contrary, do you have like a guilty pleasure song?
Guilty pleasure song. That's a great question. I definitely do. I think it's a Beyonce song, but I don't know trying to think of which one it would be. Maybe Diva. Diva by Beyonce is probably guilty pleasure. Yeah.
Okay. And you did mention that you were a basketball player. So do you have like a favorite NBA team that you root for every year?
Oh man, I mean, I used to root for the 76ers. I'm kind of like way more in the lately NCAA women's, because being in South Carolina, South Carolina's women's team has been dominant. Like they've just been so good. So I watch a lot more of that than NBA these days. But yeah, I was a 76ers fan for sure.
do you still find any time to play?
I do. I used to find a lot more time when I go on these like legendary rhythm and blues cruises. Often, most people don't play basketball on these things. They're like in it for the music. So I'll get the court all to myself and I'll just go up and shoot. With the except the last one I was on, like Ivan Neville and the Dumpster Funk guys came up, and so we played like a game of horse. I play every now and again. Yeah.
Fun fact: when I was a little boy, I used to love Allen Iverson. He used to be my
absolutely.
I used to be crazy about I3 shoes. So he had like the signature range of basketball shoes, and that was the thing, man.
I hear you. I had those. I loved them.
Yeah.
I had to get them to play that season. I was like, I need them. Yeah. Do that little step back through the legs.
Correct.
He's the best. Oh man, so good.
Yeah. What's your favorite cuisine?
That really depends. I mean, lately it's been Vietnamese.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say Vietnamese, does causeway fall under Vietnamese cuisine? Have you tried the causeways? Have you tasted them?
I'm not. No.
Okay. I think it's got origins in Burma. So it's called the Burmese causeway in a lot of places.
Okay.
A lot of Vietnamese cuisines in India, at least, they serve a lot of causeways. And
beautiful.
And then there's pho also, right? There's some kind of pho. Yeah.
Totally. Yep. Yeah. Yep. I hope I get some Indian food because
yes, for sure. In Mumbai, you should try the vada pavs. So it's like the Indian burger. So it's got these two little buns, and then there's this little the patty kind of thing that they stuff it in with potato and like some veggies and so that's like a delight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
and they have it with green chilies. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yes. A little spice in there. Yes.
A lot of spice actually.
I love it. Okay, I'm ready.
And also Mumbai has got a lot of Irani cafes. So They've got like a lot of good old Irani cafes where you can try some Irani food as well.
Beautiful. Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah.
I kind of eat my way around the world. That's
Yeah,
pretty
you
much. I'm
should.
not a musician. I just
You should.
move around for food.
But do you have enough time during your Indian visit? Do you have time to visit places, or how long?
We have a couple days, so I
Okay.
think so. Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. I hope so.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know what the day schedule is going to be like.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
we have some dinners planned and
Yeah.
jams and
Because usually
that.
it's very hectic for musicians coming down here. They
Yeah.
just do the festival and then they head out somewhere else, part of their
Yeah.
itineraries. But what I would personally recommend is take some time out and explore the country beyond Mumbai. That's an
Yeah.
actual experience. Yeah.
Yes, it's definitely high up on my bucket list to do. So
Yeah.
hopefully,
You should. You should. Yeah.
it'll happen.
Yeah. If you had to put together an all-star blues band with people from any era, who'd be in it?
Freddie King for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
Freddie King would be. Oof, I would love that. Let's see who else. I mean, honestly, I love my normal drummer Byron. I think I'd still want him
Okay.
there.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of other drummers though from other eras that I would. Man, Donald Duck Dunn would be killing, or James Jamerson. Like, I think that for bass, I think that would be
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Man, my brain is like blanking on drummers today as far as like other places, but yeah. I really liked Mike Finnegan's. Was a killing keyboard player.
Okay.
He used to play Bonnie Raitt for years. Bonnie Raitt has to be in there. And I don't know. Etta James has to be in there. Like
Yeah.
Sister Rosetta Tharpe has to be in there. Like it's hard to choose. It really is. But
Got it.
that's at least get you started.
So, what are the top 5 things people coming down for the Mahindra Blues Festival can catch at a Vanessa Collier set?
One of the top 5 things. I don't know if I will be able to do it, but usually people love. I walk out into the audience.
Oh. Okay.
And play, and so usually that's a highlight for people.
Yeah.
I think people will enjoy a lot Laura's playing.
Yeah.
I think Scott's playing and stage presence, as well as Byron's. Like our vocals are great. He sings some background vocals with me.
Okay.
And then there's also like fun song, witty songwriting thing. So I have a song called "Sweating Like a Pig, Singing Like an Angel." Usually we try and get everybody singing on that one.
Yeah.
So little things like that. And I think "What Makes You Beautiful" we'll probably put in the set as well. And that's a song for everybody. So just the world and the beauty standards are pretty whack, and so that song is basically just, I wrote it for my sisters to remind them that they're beautiful inside and out.
Okay.
But it really applies to anybody who's ever been made to feel like less than. That
Beautiful.
You have value and you're worth, and you're a beautiful person. So
Lovely. Are you gonna attempt a crowd surf also?
Hey, if the people will hold me up, I'd do it.
That'd be fun.
That would be fun.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Has it happened before?
I don't know. I honestly speaking, I haven't attended many editions of the festival. Last
Okay.
year was probably the first time I attended the festival. Yeah. So I don't
Okay,
know
cool.
much. I don't know much. It could have, but you can always create a new trend, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're a
Start something new.
trendsetter in India.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I love
A
it.
very cool saxophone player doing saxy things
That's
with
right.
the
That's
crowd. Yeah, that'd be fun.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome.
So, what are the top 5 songs on your playlist right now? Uh, if you had to derive something from a genre like modern blues music, so what are the top 5 new set of bands or artists that you are listening to?
Ooh, okay. That's a great question. I think because I think new are usually new to me these days. I'm listening to a lot of like 60s stuff.
Okay.
So I'm trying to think. I love GA20.
Okay.
Yeah, they're a great modern like blues band. They do sort of like the Hound Dog Taylor stuff, and so it's like 2 guitar players and a drummer. There's no bass player.
Okay.
That's really awesome. I love Ruthie. I mean, she's kind of a little bit of everything as well. You know what I mean? Like gospel, but she's got the roots in the country and the blues stuff too.
Yeah.
Who else? I still love Gary Clark Jr. when he came out.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Tell me about that. Yeah. I think he started with Bright Lights. Was the first time I saw him on YouTube at the Crossroads Festival. What an insane musician.
Yeah. Oh man, absolutely.
Yeah.
Have you seen him live?
No, I haven't. I would love to. I would kill to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I've seen a movie where he acted. It's called Honey Dripper. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen that. Okay.
You should check it out.
I will find that. Yeah, I will absolutely find that.
Yeah. I mean, being a blues person, you totally dig that movie.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. For sure. Yeah. Have you heard Robert John and the Wreck?
No, I haven't.
Okay. I mean, they kind of cross into a couple different genres, Southern rock, but also they have some blues stuff too. I really like them, and the band's super nice. I've been on quite a few festivals with them. They're pretty killing.
Yeah.
And I love the Lark and Poe, the two women that play that.
I think they
too.
played at the festival too. Lark and Poe was.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
They're really cool and inventive, and I appreciate their business sense and all that. The lap steel playing is crazy, and just her rhythm guitar work is also crazy. So, yeah.
Speaking of lap steel, another artist comes to my mind, which is Robert Randolph.
Oh, of course, yeah. He's amazing.
An insane musician. Yeah, I've been listening to a lot of his latest stuff. Pretty insane.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's a boss. I mean, I just every time I hear him, and then I saw him at a festival a couple years ago too, and I love he's got his whole band will switch, so he'll go back and play drums. The drummer will come up with bass, or they do that whole thing, and it's so cool. It's so cool. So the whole band's talented,
Yeah. So I have one last question for today, which is a custom in all of my interviews, and I ask all of my guests this question. Though you're a little too young, but yeah, you can choose to answer it. Down in the distant horizon, what would you like to be remembered as?
Yeah, great question. I think first and foremost, as I say, I'm attempting to approach everything with positivity.
Okay.
And light, and bringing people good energy and making them feel great when they walk out from a concert of mine. So I think that's really important to me. At the same time, I think it's important to not just be nice, but also know how to stand up for yourself and stand up for the things that are important.
Yeah.
So I've been somewhat outspoken about just being a woman in the industry and what that means.
Yeah.
And there's still pay gap. There's still opportunity gaps. Where they will only have one woman on a festival, and the rest are men playing guitar. Because I've had people tell me that, oh, you can't have 2 women on a festival. It's like, why? You know what I mean? So being very outspoken about those things, pro artist things. As far as being an independent or just being an artist, period.
Yeah.
Everybody's kind of trying to take their piece. And so I've been very outspoken from the venue point of view with them taking merch cuts. So those kind of business things I would like to, I guess, be known for standing up for the artist, standing up for what I feel is the right thing. But also just being very open-minded and open to all of this dialogue. I think one of the things that we're experiencing in the US is an inability to just have some open, amiable conversation, just discussion around topics without getting heated or without offending someone, without intentionally offending them, or attacking them as a person rather than attacking the issues. So I think all of these things, in general, I would like to be known for being a kind-hearted, thoughtful human being that's also a pretty great sax player, and vocalist and songwriter. Those three things are very, very important to me. So
great answer for a closure. This interview will be additionally aired on 2 incredible radio stations as part of the Sunday primetime radio show, happening at 2 incredible places in northeast of India, Shillong and Aizawl. And it'll also be out on my YouTube channel, Aditya Veera 1994, in an audio video format, and it'll also be on all major audio streaming platforms at a later point, from Spotify to Apple Podcasts, as Stalwarts of Music with Aditya Veera. It's been such an incredible blessing, honor, and a privilege, Vanessa, for taking time out and being a part of my show. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'm really hoping to see you very soon in my country.
Yeah, thank you so much, Aditya. It was wonderful to speak with you. Thank you so much for your questions. Very thoughtful, and this has been such a pleasure talking to you. Look forward to seeing you very soon, I hope.